as people emerge, you know, some will get taken care of quicker than others. You know, as guys emerge, then we feel good about it, and we start repping them as first team guys and repping them as second team guys. If the position battles are up in the air, you know, say like our running back position is, and they're just going to keep rolling until somebody separates themselves. Which, you know, it's going to be challenging. You know, that's why we hired Coach Gillespie, who's a really good running back coach, to sort that out. Because they all played well today. I mean, they all bring something different to the table, and they all keep competing hard against each other.
So far, the freshmen developed the way that you like them to?
The two running backs have, for sure. Yeah, those guys. Bowie took about 3 to the house today, you know, and Dustin's a different runner to where he's very patient. He sees it, you know, and then he just squirts through there and, you know, should have lost 2 and ends up getting 6, you know, so they complement each other really well. Bernard came back today and had some good tough runs. You know, so those two guys are receiver-wise. Those guys, you know, they're struggling a little bit. The linemen are struggling a little bit. Cody's struggling a little bit. You know, defensively, they're all, you know, kind of in the same boat. You know, but probably the two that are really stand out more than any of those two running backs.
Is it surprising to you to have, you know, 3 running backs who are leaders as freshmen? Is that?
No. I mean, the last 3 years, you know, we've had a true freshman that have, you know, either being the guy or one of the main guys. So, running back's a position where those guys are usually pretty developed. It's probably the one position you can do that in.
This is 3 years in a row now that you'll be playing a whole bunch of new teams pretty much that you don't know how they're going to play you going in. That's a luxury I guess you haven't had to do this for quite a while. How do you handle that? I mean, do you have to guess every week, or especially since you're different than a lot of people?
Well, you never really truly know. You know, I mean, you know, say for instance, you know, before I went to Oklahoma State, I coached against Oklahoma State for 10 straight years. Okay, so I was obviously really familiar with, you know, who they were and all that. Well, in the course of the 10 years, they switched DCs probably like 3-4 times. You know, so, you know, every year you had to look at the tape and figure out what they did and do your best on figuring out how they line up, and then, you know, and then try to attack it the best way that you feel like you can. If you were wrong, then you got to adjust. You know, so. I don't, you know, game 2, Norfolk State, I don't know what they do on defense. I really don't care right now. I figure that out, you know, a week before we play them. You know, and teams that I'm real familiar with, you know, I kind of have an idea what they're doing, but I'm still going to prepare for them the same way. We're still going to watch the same amount of tape and figure out what the personnel is and figure out what their tendencies are, which, you know, the DC might have changed. You know, I mean, it's just part of the game. You don't truly know until you get into it. Last year when we played Oklahoma, you talk about a shock now. I mean, I've known Venables and Bob for, you know, 11 years and played against them, coached against them for 10, or I guess it was 9. We didn't at Houston, but you know, they've been a traditional 4-down front team for 11 years. You know, and then I watched the tape and I was like, yeah, that's the same stuff they've been doing for a long time. They're 4 down, they're a zone blitz team. Every now and then they'll bring the safety down, bring everybody and play man. They came out against us in a 3-down front for the first time in their entire career at Oklahoma. So, you know, and that's when you got to adjust, you know, and it took us about a quarter to adjust, and then we figured out what they were doing and we attacked it, and we were able to have some success. There's only so much defense you can play, you know, so. You know, I feel like with what our system is, we can figure out what they're doing and be able to have an idea how to attack it.
Do you find that over the course of the last few years that teams have treated you a little bit like Venables did and thrown stuff at you that you weren't expecting?
Well, there's really nothing you can throw at us that we're not expecting. I mean, or that we haven't seen. I mean, how many different fronts can you line up in? How many different coverages can you line up in? How many different, you know, blitzes can people do? I mean, it's just a matter of recognizing it and figuring out what they're doing and communicate that with your players, which, you know, I'd like to think we've got enough good coaches where we can figure that out and be able to adjust on the sidelines. Nobody's going to, I mean, I don't know. Some teams, you know, you look back, 2002 Alamo Bowl, 2001 Alamo Bowl, okay, University of Iowa. In 2002, they were like 11-1 and really good, okay? And they've always had a good defense. You can turn on their tape right now, it's the same defense that it was back in 2001. And they were just as bland as you can possibly be. They're, 4-3, covered 4. And that's all they did every dang snap. And they whipped us, so I don't know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of good defenses out there. I mean, it's all about what they believe in and what they feel like they can execute.
Okay, thanks, Coach.